What's up guys, it's Drac, and this thing is sprinting to a retail outlet near you. Being so for real right now, I did buy this one for $30 dues from my local Walmart, making the Walton family a little bit richer in the process. All that said, I did check out the Sprinter originally when I did my visit, debuting N-Series, and this was by far the most popular one. All of the influencers and reviewers that were there were so stoked to get their hands on the Sprinter because who doesn't like a full auto flywheeler? I mean, it's pretty slick. I'm pretty confident it is full auto. It says motorized fast fire. It's been so long since that visit that, my memory might be a little fuzzy, but it's got the sleekest profile. It's bullpup. Who doesn't love bullpup? It's using a real magazine, which is a huge value add. And for $30, I think that all of that is really, really good stuff. It didn't debut at the same time as the rest of the product for reasons that we won't get into, but I'm excited to have a review model on hand right now so that I can review it for you instead of on like short form vertical content at Hasbro HQ, just here in a neutral setting where we can give you the good, the bad, the ugly, and what's great about it. But $30 is a super reasonable entry-level price point, especially when the flagship for this was a huge dynamic drum chain blaster thing that was a little funky. This is electronically powered and I think far more tactical, practical. But it's gonna need 6 AA's to fire. It comes with 16 darts, which its magazine holds all of. So no double your darts this time, but they are N-Series darts. And it'll be nice to see how they fly out of an electronic setup. So as we bust this thing out, clip, clip. All right, you can see the blaster itself has more or less a Rayven profile to it. If it's bigger than a Rayven, I'm shocked. Let's get the magazine out. And then I assume the darts are hiding in here. They're not, which means darts and instructions. We'll skip the instructions for now. Like I said, good profile, shoulders nicely, really, really Rayven reminiscent. But before we get into the ergo, let's get into the battery tray that's gonna be located right here in the back. That's actually pretty good for weight distribution. Keep in mind, 6 of these alkalines are gonna set you back about $6 dues these days. So alliteration aside, factor that into your price decision. Also keep in mind that you're probably gonna wanna pick up a reload of darts. Given that this only has enough to fill it once and it's full auto, you're gonna lose a few under the couch. That's just the nature of the beast. Nerf darts, once fired, at least 10% of them enter into a realm beyond our understanding, and they don't return from that realm. Sometimes they'll turn up later in like yard clipping bags and maybe underneath the seat in your mom's van, but that's a story for another time. The magazines are not my favorite style of magazines. They have the lips here, but that does mean that if you pull them out at any point while they still have darts in them, they're gonna release the top dart and potentially cause jams inside the mag well. That's not a flaw necessarily as much as it is a necessity for darts of this profile keeping their dart DRM to fit into a magazine like this. Given the nature of how the pushers work in a lot of these blasters, it's just not feasible for them to be a lipless setup. So again, that means that you load them quite simply. You just push in beyond that friction. But to re-illustrate that point, this has 3 in it. It's in, it's out, and 2 of them fell out. So, you really want to exhaust your magazine's capacity before you ever reload. Now, in this case, you'll be reloading all at once because it does not come with additional magazines, and I don't think that there is a reload kit on shelves at this time. But it's a sweet little bullpup blaster, and I am excited to put a few of these downrange for you. But before we do that, let's do a quick overview and firing demo. Like I said, standard Hasbro quality, feels pretty good. Also standard Hasbro quality, the deco has taken a nosedive recently. The industrial design of the product is good, lots of different mold release and texture there. You can see just some really cool stuff going on, but paint only on this side and only on the NERF logo. Even the Sprinter logo is not painted. And then on the obverse, you have a ton of warning labels breaking up that nice industrial design and leading to a very asymmetric kind of viewpoint on this. But in the spirit of symmetry, they've got a faux jam door here and then a real jam door here, which in true Hasbro fashion doubles as a lock. Blaster will not rev until you close the old jam door. And now you have a pretty subtle hum telling you it's gonna fire. Let's see, is it full or semi? It is semi. I was wrong. Fast firing action is only as fast as your fingies go. So a true 1-to-1 of the Rayven, that does explain the price point as being full auto tends to be pricey, but you have interesting just design choices. This shows the direction that the flywheels are turning inside, spitting the darts forward. You've got a really cute foregrip here where There's like a thumb port there fitting into a semi AFG, but also a handguard. See-through hole here, port in the front. Full tack rail up top, quite nice. Cheek rest here, not super comfy, but grips built in. Place for a laser light or optic. And then this stock is comfy. I also genuinely applaud them for putting the batteries in the back because that's where all the weight is. So it shoulders quite nicely. This would be a good one-hand wieldable blaster. Even for HVZ, if you're choosing to go N-Series, you know, primary hand on your primary, ready to fire relatively accurately from a 2 anchor point position. And then you got to keep that left hand free for socks. So I think that it's a sweet offering. Let's put it over the chronograph, put a few down range, give you our final thoughts. Figured out if your fingers are long enough, this can be a safety rest for your trigger finger. Now, for real, it's supposed to work like this, but I do really like the ergo on the Sprinter. I think that they took some liberty with it. They took a little bit of outside inspiration. I like the vents. I like the holes. I mean, in a world where we're not doing deco with like paint and decals and like direct to blaster printing necessarily, the fun colors, the big splash, the open spaces, the use of line, it's a well-designed product. I think that it's comfortable, the ergonomics are really cool, and this is just nifty. There's a lot going on here that I think people of all hand sizes and arm lengths will find comfortable. There's a lot of room here to find something that works for you. But I still really dig it in a one-hand wieldable fashion. We got a full magazine here. Let's put a few down range. Target is at about 37 feet. And I think we're gonna dial it in pretty quick. Let's see. Not bad, not bad. About 50% on target accuracy. The darts are certainly less prone to random. Still a little floaty. I mean, they're not the heaviest darts on planet Earth. And the blaster, despite being powered by about 9 volts of alkaline energy, is still having to tune, I think, slightly larger flywheels, perhaps slightly hungrier motors, so it's not a particularly violent system. Getting FPSs of about 90 FPS, it's more or less on par with the rest of the N-Series. I mean, that is what the Springer varietals are doing in terms of their, you know, muzzle velocity, and I think that that's reflected here. It's a perfectly reasonable competitive blaster in that ecosystem, with the exception being that your follow-up shots are mighty fast. I mean, all the pleasure of a Rayven, plus the new ammo type, kind of funky magazine, not a lot of other magazines available for it, so it does stick out a lot longer. I'd be interested to try a shorter version of a magazine that would really compact this thing up, but it's unlikely that your average HVZ combatant is going to be using this, given the prevalence of 50 cal ammo in that game type still. So I think it's safe to say this is regulated to like birthday and basement battles. And in that regard, it's a beautiful blaster. Alliteration aside, that's pretty tough to beat. Like I said, good target acquisition. I really like any sort of bullpup that I can shoulder while I fire and reload. I really dig that. I wish it came with an extra magazine, or it was easier or cheaper to get magazine reloads, because a blaster like this really shines when you can run and gun with it, drop, grab something from your dump pouch, and reload and keep battling just like that. But hopefully N-Series continues to be successful and we get to see more aftermarket support for it, or, you know, in this case, direct mothership support for it, where there'll be additional magazines, maybe a drum, other stuff along that line. But overall, you know, I think it's an ambitious ergonomic and aesthetic achievement, and it's well worth $30. I mean, you're getting a primary class flywheel blaster like a Rayven at a very reasonable retail price point. Will we design anything for it? I don't necessarily think so just yet, but there is a mod guide coming for this in the not too distant future, just because I love the bullpup ergo, and this is well worth my time to tinker with the electronics. It's such a simple and reliable control suite for the electronics that it'll be a pleasure to amp it up and see what these things do with a lipo modification. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Worth 30 bucks? You tell me. Much love, blast on, Drac out.